And we are live. Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Buzzkill, and today we have a very interesting topic to go over today. So, as you can tell by the title, that's right, we're going to talk a little bit of conspiracy theory from the get-go. And obviously, the conspiracy theory is going to have something to do with Candace Owen. And then after that, we're going to talk about our greatest ally. Well, not right after that, but obviously our greatest ally has something to do with Iran, right? And we're gonna talk about our, this spoiler alert, Mossad agent here. Okay, very interesting. We got a lot to talk about today. So to be quite honest with y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and just get straight onto it. All right, because very interesting topic. And one thing that I do want to say is the reason why I picked Candace Owen and start and react, because she made this episode yesterday. All right, if you don't know, it was yesterday, June 14th. Today's the 15th. As I was listening to this, and I like, it was extremely fascinating to me. Why? Because somebody who is into theology, all right, who is into religion, I tend to be a little bit interested when things start to line up. You know what I'm saying? And so let's go ahead and listen to what Candace Owen has to say, and I will give my commentary on it. And yeah,
for my people. I want to start by saying that the way that I feel, the way that I think a lot of you feel, the vibes that are surrounding us right now is that the deep state is in some sort of a panic, right? We've acknowledged that over and over again on the show. Something doesn't feel quite right. It feels almost like we are at the beginning of the end of a long satanic run.
right.
That's why, just so you guys know, despite the obviously sobering reality that the world is run by these people, I'm pretty optimistic every day. I can't explain it. I don't know why. Things are obviously coming apart, but like things have to come apart before they can be put back together. And they're just getting sloppy. And if I could put it into a sentence, I would say that it's almost as if our awareness is the threat, right? Awareness, just our being conscious of what they are doing, somehow spells their doom, which is bringing me to wanting to discuss today, as I promised you, the CIA's Looking Glass Project. Now, we briefly touched upon this at the end of last episode. Obviously, I'm a conspiracy girly, and I'm thrilled that we get to dive a little bit deeper on this topic for those of you that don't know. The first thing that I want to remind you guys is exactly what I said at the top of the show. It is an absolute fact that Charlie Kirk thought that he was a time traveler. He told me he was a time traveler repeatedly. I showed you guys that text message exchange. I said to him in response that I didn't feel the same way and that I thought I was from another planet, that I was an alien my entire life. Just do not get it here. This planet is ghetto. That's how I feel. I don't understand it. The rules don't make sense. I think that's also why I like cats so much. I feel that they can relate to that. They think humanity is ghetto. They don't want to be around us. They don't like us. They know it's ghetto. It is ghetto here, right? Well, another bizarre fact is that back when Charlie and I were running around, we met in 2017, top of 2018. So I would say, obviously, Turning Point was an organization, but it wasn't the organization. It wasn't this behemoth of an organization that it became. No, he had no real degree of fame. I think that's fair. But he was required to have security on him at all times. That was orchestrated. His security, Schaefer Security, was orchestrated by Bill Montgomery. He has since passed, the late Bill Montgomery, and he was from the military. He founded Turning Point USA with Charlie. Charlie wanted to go to West Point, and then instead started Turning Point USA when he was 18 years old. Thinking about that, the security, him texting saying, "I'm not allowed to go anywhere, I feel so important," I think was the exact message. That, to me, is objectively weird in retrospect. Wasn't weird at the time, it's weird now. And it makes me think that Charlie may have been marked since he was a child. We've discussed these GATE programs that they have in school. And I just think, on the basis of what he told me, that when he was really young, they wanted to drug him, but his mother said no, and he was really grateful for that. And instead, they decided that they could send him to this X-Men school. That's the best way I can describe it. I would certainly, by the way, for you internet sleuths, I'd like to find out which school Charlie had to attend. So he was pulled out of the regular school he was attending, and he had to go to some special school for the gifted, like he was an X-Man. And I am of the opinion, it's an opinion, I'm allowed to have it, it's obviously not a fact, but I am of the opinion, based on the discussions I had with him, that he's been monitored since. That his test scores, every test they probably did on him, he was off the charts, and they wanted to make sure that he was being watched. That's my theory in general on all kids that are in extraordinary and GATE type programs. Maybe we should be training our kids to get like an 85% on the test.
Yeah, I mean, to be quite honest with you, I don't really know much about Charlie Kirk. But one thing that I do want to say is based off of what she is saying, it would make a lot of sense that they will start monitoring him from the get-go because they don't want to give too much power to somebody that's gonna just switch on them in one day. You know what I'm saying? And also Charlie Kirk was obviously too young for them to blackmail, or maybe he was really close to his parent and so they couldn't really do anything about it, right? And so and the reason why I'm bringing this up is simply due to the fact that the politicians, although they were not looked at like the way Charlie Kirk was brought up, like the way she's describing right now, for them, it's a whole different ball game. Okay. That's when Jeffrey Epstein comes in order to get these guys under control. Charlie, on the other hand, was being groomed from the beginning to become somebody who is going to be, I guess you can say, a mouthpiece for whatever regime change they need around the world. And that's what he was following. That's the script that he had until his last minute. Although he did start to switch up a little bit because, you know, let's be honest, you can only go with an agenda for so long until you realize, like, holy shit, something is not right here. And so that's kind of something that Charlie Kirk started to realize, but it was too late. And one thing that I always say is every single time when I'm looking into the story of what's her name, Erica Kirk, because to be honest, I had no idea who she was until the assassination of Charlie Kirk, which is like, bruh. And after him, all of a sudden, she becomes a face of TPSU. She is everywhere. And of course, people are digging into her life. But one thing that I do want to say is based off of the way she's talking, based off the way she's acting, they play Charlie Kirk like a fiddle, bro. This dude's whole entire life was like a giant, like it was orchestrated for him. You know what I'm saying? And so his girlfriend, like everything was just like holy shit. And I gotta say, it's very very fascinating. In fact, people are digging up video that she was making videos for the CIA. I don't know how, but yeah, people are digging up so many of her videos. This girl, I'm sorry, like based off of everything that I'm seeing, based off of everything that I'm hearing, she's very very. I do not trust her. I'm not gonna lie to you. I do not trust her. I mean, she just happened to be connected to, you know, child thing that happened in Ukraine, not Ukraine. God, what's that state called? Where is jeez, oh, I forgot the name of the location. But yeah, she's connected to that. She's obviously connected to beauty pageant that was owned by Donald Trump, and it's just a whole mess, man.
At most, before the government agents are going to swoop in and go, who is this genius child, you know? And a lot of weird things used to happen to Charlie. He would go on runs. I think I told you guys this after sundown. And when he was running, street lights would go out. Like it was like he was in a burst of energy, like he was a lightning bolt or something. So to slow this down for you, there are just in general all of these inexplicable experiences that we have in life. And they try to make it weird for us to discuss them. Like just even being philosophical and thinking about these things for a long time, they don't want that. Deja vu is probably chief among them. We all have experienced deja vu. We are certain something happened, that we already did that, but it didn't actually happen. You're like, but I feel like it did. Oof, I just got a bad case of deja vu. Well, guess what? There's no official expert explanation for that. Sleep paralysis, for those of us who suffer that, I had some terrifying experiences before I knew what it was. They don't really give us a full explanation for that. Similar, also, another example of things that are inexplicable and maybe somehow related to deja vu, the story of how I met my husband. I've told it many times, how I got engaged 18 days later. No one believes me. They don't want to accept it, except maybe Charlie Kirk, because he was there for it. But I already knew George. That's how I describe it. I saw his face. I know that doesn't make sense, but it happened that way. I looked at my husband's face and I already knew him. It was like a sigh of relief. And yeah, there's other explicable events and things like Charlie telling me that he was going to die young. Anyway, today we are going to be showing you clips.
Perhaps that's probably because he knew that, what do you call it? That his life was being orchestrated by somebody extremely powerful. Now again, nobody really knows when they're gonna die. Nobody knows that. You know what I mean? And one thing that you need to understand is that once you find out the truth, it's probably too late. And I believe Charlie found out the truth and it was too late, but he went along with it anyway because, or maybe he was trying to slowly and slowly ease his way out of that lifestyle. But they had invested too much money into him. They had invested too much time into him. And obviously they had to turn him into a martyr. And that's exactly what they're trying to do. And then of course, you got Candace Owen, who is just spilling the bean, bro. Every single time the Zionists try to bring out a narrative about Charlie Kirk, she just comes and says, that's not true. When the whole entire situation happening, she was the first to say that Charlie Kirk was actually, trying to get away from the whole entire Zionist narrative. And, everybody in the TPSU was saying, no, that's not true, until she like, well, here's the text message. And it's like, oh shit. And then they had to go ahead and take the step back. And every time she mentions something, they say that's not true. She shows evidence for it. And now you expect us to actually believe that his crew, his wife, were not, I wouldn't say they were in cahoot to get rid of him, because I don't want to drop such high accusation on them. But what I do want to say is the fact that they are covering this whole situation, the fact that they are dodging questions and trying to just bury the whole narrative altogether, tells me that something is going on and they do not want the world to know about it.
Clips from a YouTube channel called Be Inspired. We're going to link it in the comments as well, because they did such a fantastic job of diving into these phenomena and how they likely relate to another shady government CIA program, which came to be known as Project Looking Glass. This actually happened. These were whistleblowers that came out, like with all of these projects, people that are in the military, scientists coming out and saying, hey, government has this technology and they can peer into the future. I'm sorry, what? What does that mean? Anyways, the narrator of this
now it's getting good. This is the part that I really wanted to get to.
Channel, who I could not find his name to save my life because there's multiple people that work this channel. But he begins by taking us back to the Y2K scare. You guys remember that. Of course, you remember the Y2K scare. I was actually scared. I was young. I was like, oh my gosh, I just don't want to die like this. I don't want to die just because it's midnight and it's the year 2000 and they were just kind of pumping all this fear into us. Anyway, let's jump right into this clip.
Let's start with Y2K. In the final months of 1999, there was a global concern that computer systems would fail when the date switched to the year 2000. All the software used only 2 digits to record years, so 2 nils might be read as 1900, potentially disrupting banks,
credit cards, and ATMs may cease to function.
power grids, airlines,
Airplanes and trains may come to a halt.
governments and corporations spent over $300 billion updating systems. It was one of the largest coordinated tech efforts in history. People stocked food, withdrew cash, and prepared for the worst. But when midnight came, almost nothing happened. The systems held, the world moved on. Still, that global moment left an imprint. Some view it as a psychological turning point, the end of the analog age and the quiet beginning of a fully digital world. From that point on, life accelerated. Culture, communication, and consciousness shifted onto screens, fast, constant, and increasingly disconnected from physical time. Some researchers believe Y2K wasn't about a bug at all, but a kind of global psychological reset, a ritual of fear, distraction, and silence. The code may not have crashed, but something else may have been triggered. Our perception of time and reality. After something strange started happening online, people began noticing memories that didn't match reality. The most famous? The Berenstain Bears. Millions remember it as Berenstain with an E, but every book says Berenstain with an A, and that's just the beginning.
If you're running a simulation and you go back and you change some variables and you rerun the simulation, lots of little things could be different along the way, right? You have many different possible paths.
You have glitches in the matrix.
Exactly. You're now on this timeline, but you remember. You have like a deja vu, or you have like a weird memory.
Movie quotes, logos, product names, all different than we remember. Entire groups of people swearing something changed with no explanation. It became known as the Mandela Effect, named after people who remembered Nelson Mandela dying in prison years before he actually did. What could cause something like this?
Are you familiar with the Mandela effect? Yeah, of course. Millions of people remember certain events that never happened. And so how do you explain that? As we go through our conscious progression, as we raise consciousness, the way we perceive the world, and therefore all that will exist in our world, will morph to that new resonance as a sympathetic resonance. So certain aspects of the old world will just no longer exist. And so we can still have a phantom memory of those experiences, whether it's like Jiffy peanut butter or Luke, I am your father, which he never said that, right? All these things like that literally just like fall out.
I remember that one. I could have sworn he's saying, Luke, I am your father. But a lot of people were swearing up and down that he didn't say that. If I remember, actually, I don't remember the original video, not the original, but a video of what he was actually saying and somebody put a subtitle. It just sounds so similar, but yeah. When it comes to the mind is a very tricky, like the brain is extremely powerful. So to be quite honest with you, like maybe the brain is perhaps going through like a factory reset, which is what gave us deja vu. I don't really know much about it, so I'm not gonna get into brain frequencies here. But I'm just saying, like, one thing that I do know for a fact is that human beings, we don't know the future. We don't know what the outcome of a future is going to be. That's too much of a power, and obviously, we know God is not gonna grant us such power like that. But there are exceptions. There are exceptions, and we'll get to that. Let's just keep watching.
Out of your new frequency, because everything in your world around you, including time itself, is retrocausal. The world around you that is no longer fitting your frequency will disintegrate and dissolve.
Okay, so I'm not trying to start a world war in the comment section today, but Pikachu had black at the end of his tail. Obviously, I don't know when they hit delete on that button, but he definitely had black at the end of his tail.
I never got into
Some of these things just don't make any sense to me.
I never got into Pokemon to know whether or not if he had black at the end of the tail or not.
And it's just amazing that we just sort of accept it and we just keep moving on. And when you start asking questions, they try to paint you with, no, don't ask the questions, just keep going on. Let's just pretend. Let's just pretend that, there was no cornucopia. Anyways, this brings us obviously to the CIA's project Looking Glass. Essentially, there were these whistleblowers, like I told you, in the military and within the CIA apparatus that came forward to reveal that the deep state had a technology, which they stole, of course. Please do not miss the part that I keep explaining to you. These people are not smarter than you. They're just more evil. They steal, they plunder, and they steal things, and then they rewrite history and pretend that they were geniuses.
Yeah, and I wanted to say something about this because this is 100% true, okay? One thing that I really, really, really hate, especially when it comes to racist people, is the fact that they assume that the world started off 6,000 years ago. Like, the reason why I'm saying that is simply because for some reason, white people pretend as if they are the first human beings to ever come up with some sort of, I don't know, for example, mathematic or, all this other stuff. When you think about it, right, when you look at the history of humankind, every single human being in this world has some kind of contribution to developing society. Okay. And the reason why I'm saying I really don't like racist people is that they pretend that they are the first to come up with, some kind of technology. If you look at the era of history, you will realize that there's a lot of stars in the skies that are actually named after Arabs. Things, you also have mathematics and things like algebra, you know what I mean? Something along that line, If you look at the amount of invention that Arabs came up with, it's extremely fascinating. But it's not just Arabs. I'm bringing this example to you because a lot of the stuff that Arabs did, centuries before Americans discovered these things, or should I say white people discovered these things, is like, whoa, So I don't want to dive much into it. What I do want to say is that, although the thing is, people in the past built the foundation of a lot of the invention that we have today. That's what I want to say. So you got racist people out there who will say black people haven't done anything for this world. Arabs haven't done anything for this world. These group of people haven't done anything this world. We haven't. I'm like, no, you're wrong, buddy. Everybody has contributed something to society.
Anyways, they have a knack for murder. They have a knack for theft. And this time, just like a lot of times before, they stole a device from the ancient Sumerian civilization that's located in modern day Iraq.
Okay.
Very advanced civilization. They're obsessed also with Egyptian civilization, as we discussed yesterday. The Satanists kind of taking and reintroducing these things. First, they keep them to themselves. They hoard these things, and then they kind of give us certain aspects of technology as time goes on. So they steal this piece of technology, and they incorporate it into a computer. And suddenly, they're apparently able to predict future outcomes. Just imagine the deep state being.
Keep in mind, they're not able to know that they don't know the future. They're just predicting the outcome. They're saying, okay, based off of these numbers, based off of what we are observing, we can assume that this is what's going to happen. And so they try their best to make that happen. And a lot of the time they are successful because human beings are really, really easy to manipulate. Human beings are easy to trick. We've seen that. You know what I mean? We see it throughout history. This is why they say history repeats itself, because we seem to go through the same cycle over and over again. And on top of that, we forget easily. So I just want you to keep in mind that she's not saying that we're able to predict we're not saying that we're able to see the future, but rather we're able to, assume that this is what might happen.
Being able to look into a glass, so to speak, the Sumerian culture was known for their advancement in glass, and to see different outcomes. I mean, the amount of power that you would have, and then also fathom in your mind that the people that are Satanists have this power. Take a listen.
This is where things take a turn. Because according to Bill Wood, a former Navy SEAL with high-level clearance, the US military once had access to a device called Project Looking Glass, a technology that could supposedly view potential future timelines.
The project was shut down because there was a problem when we approached 2012. The timelines converge on that point in time. When you know how string theory works and how the possibility of possibilities works and how making one choice over here doesn't necessarily mean that the other choice couldn't exist at the same time. But once you get your brain wrapped around this subject, you find out that at the end of 2012, in an easy way to put it, the choices that we make become less and less consequential to the future. And eventually we're pushed into this bottleneck of time, no matter which choice we make.
Okay, so is that certainly 2012 in your understanding?
It's well coincides with December 21st, 2012.
So at that point, all possibilities lead to the same
Timelines.
Rubicon.
All.
And if you were alive during 2012, you will understand that that's when the Mayan calendar ended. And this whole rumor about, the world's going to end in 2012, they even made a movie about it. So this is the level of psychological effect it had on the human psyche. They made a movie about it. So many people bought into it. I was young at that time. And although I didn't know much about the world and I heard about these things and the fact that it was being just spread all over the place, I believed it. I'm not gonna lie to you. A young kid who doesn't know much about the world and now hearing everything about, the world's gonna end in 2012 and then they make a movie about it and so on and so forth. Yeah, with a vulnerable mind, you will believe it. And so this right here kind of makes a lot of sense why they would, have so much emphasis on the world ending in 2012. It was probably because of this right here.
Possible timelines lead to the same basic set of history in the future.
And after that, they shut it all down. Now ask yourself, why would a system like that be buried? And what exactly did they see? Because this isn't just about false memories or tech. It might explain why everything since 1999 feels frozen and artificial. Like we're on rails in a version of reality that wasn't meant to last this long. And if you think that's wild, wait until you hear what else Looking Glass may have revealed. So what exactly did they see with Looking Glass? According to multiple whistleblowers, including Bill Wood and other interviewed by Project Camelot, every time they ran the device, no matter what variables they changed, all future timelines converged to a single fixed point. That point, somewhere between 2012 and 2016. After that, the future became unpredictable. No more branching outcomes, just a wall.
So it's super interesting that they couldn't see beyond 2012, or rather they could see beyond 2012, but maybe things became inevitable. That was backed up, by the way, by a lot of different things. Mayan civilization, the calendar, remember that whole scare? Why doesn't the calendar go beyond? So you arrive at this point and you wonder, what is this, right? Suddenly these people who are evil are no longer allowed or able to control outcomes, essentially. Or perhaps, so maybe they did see something beyond 2012. But no matter what they did, they couldn't change the outcome of that thing that they saw beyond 2012. So it wasn't so much the future couldn't be predicted, but rather that they couldn't change it, like something was coming. That's how it kind of feels to me when I just examine everything that's going on. There is this panic, like evil is panicking right now, and they're making a lot of mistakes because they're no longer in control. And I would also add here that one of the things that I've noticed is that they're trying to turn us all, again, maybe this is their solution, where they're going, okay, what are we gonna do? We can't change the outcome. Maybe we can just turn everybody into a computer program. Like they want us all to be the same. They seem to get really angry when we behave like humans. Like that's one of the things they're trying to triumph is our humanity. We talked about this a lot with the Charlie Kirk story, the reaction, how we felt icky, but they were like, what's wrong with you? How dare you feel icky? How dare you not like this? Don't you know this is what he would want? It's like their inability to defeat our humanity is angering to them. Now, something that was crucial, which was revealed about Project Looking Glass, was that the people who were in the room while this device was being operated, their conscious thoughts impacted the device, okay? So just imagine this. What they were thinking in the moment was changing future outcomes. Thoughts influenced future outcomes. That piece is super relevant to what we're going to discuss. And obviously that's pretty reminiscent of one of the themes of The Matrix. I just am going to assume everybody's seen that movie. If not, you should watch it because it was way ahead of its time. And he is going to connect that dot here. Take a listen.
So what exactly did Project Looking Glass reveal, and why was it quietly shut down? The people involved began noticing something strange. No matter what variables they used, the results kept showing the same future, a point where all possible timelines seemed to merge. That moment, somewhere between 2012 and 2016. After that, everything became unclear, like the future couldn't be read anymore. This brings us back to 1999. A year that might have marked more than just the turn of a century. It's also when The Matrix was released. At the time, it was seen as just another sci-fi movie, but looking back, it feels like something more.
You've been living in a dream world, Neo.
The film introduced a powerful idea, that the world we experience might not be what it seems, that reality could be shaped or even simulated without us knowing. And once you start asking questions, things begin to change. That idea resonates deeply with what many have felt since the early 2000s. The time feels different, that the future doesn't feel open the way it once did. Almost like things are repeating themselves. The same cycles, the same events, showing up again and again. Some people even report...
Or, based off of the idea that the human thought was capable of changing the outcome, perhaps... Nah, my theory is wrong. Let's go on.
Seeing repeating numbers everywhere, like 1111, 222, 444, almost like little glitches or signals hidden in everyday life.
Okay.
But strangely enough, this idea of patterns repeating, of cycles you can't escape, lines up with what Looking Glass operators allegedly encountered. The sensation that the future was already written and that all paths lead to the same outcome. Fast forward to 2012, some whistleblowers claim that a confidential briefing took place where certain agencies acknowledged the shift, a kind of convergence in human potential. This document, released by the CIA, explores consciousness as something that can move through time even outside of the physical world. It discusses remote viewing, timelines, and the nature of reality itself. Now, connect that to The Matrix, and the overlap becomes hard to ignore. Maybe it wasn't just a movie, maybe it was the first time the system gave us a glimpse behind the curtain. If that's...
Some people say that The Matrix is more like a documentary rather than a movie. And obviously, there's not going to be somebody out there who's going to be stopping bullet with their hands or whatever. But some people did have the prediction, not prediction, but some people did say that The Matrix was more like a documentary. And it reflects a lot of our world today. And the idea of that comes from the fact that human beings, we tend to be in a state of, well, we think everything is nice and dandy and stuff like that. Meanwhile, the real world is actually not the way we think it is. You know what I mean? And so, for example, right, when Rome fell, people say that when Rome was falling, the population didn't even know it was falling until this, like it collapsed. You know what I mean? Like, it's like the army was at the door and said, all right, we took over your land now. And people are like, what? You know what I mean? And so the same thing kind of applies to us today, right? You have, especially young people today, we tend to go to parties and do all of these things and so on and so forth. And like when you talk to a lot of them about geopolitics of like how, for example, Russia is literally threatening the European countries with nuclear weapon, and yet they have no idea. They just think that, oh, everything is just nice, fun, and dandy. We can go party, drink alcohol, and do all of these things. And so that's kind of what it's like, you know? And obviously, The Matrix kind of puts a lot of emphasis on that by shifting from the reality versus the veil that's been put over the people's eye.
Case, what else have we been shown without realizing it?
Okay, a lot to unpack there. First, I'm going to say, just regarding the movie The Matrix, you should look into how even the script for The Matrix was stolen, allegedly.
Yeah.
But to bring this back to my earlier point about all of these things that are happening or have happened that are seemingly inexplicable, it just lives inside of me that Charlie Kirk knew he was going to die. How? How was he so certain that he was going to die young? How is that possible? How was he even able to describe it as this tragic event? How did he know? How was he certain, by the way, as he said in those messages, that from the moment he signed onto the dotted line to begin Turning Point USA, he knew he was going to die. He knew his death was going to be related to Turning Point USA. That's not a coincidence, okay? It is completely absurd to have people, I don't know, maybe just a coincidence. No, that's not a coincidence at all. Why did he know that I was going to defend him? Also, why did Charlie think he was a time traveler? He said, as I showed you in earlier messages, that he was a time traveler and he had to find me.
First of all, I just want to go ahead and tell you guys time traveling is not real. No human beings has the ability to go in the future or in the past. All right. And if that was the case, like she said, the evil people all over the world would not be panicking. I'm just saying. When we get to a whole entire Iran situation, Iran, America, Israel fight, you'll understand what I'm saying. Perhaps he was saying, how do I say it? I mean, I don't know exactly why he would tell her something like that, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, to be honest with you. It really don't make a lot of sense. The fact that he thought he was a time traveler.
That's just something people are saying to their homies in text messages. And again, not anything that I would have placed so much emphasis on back when he was saying it, but it came to fruition. The other parts, he did die young. Why did he think that him dying young was necessary in order to change things? He did die young. It is related to Turning Point USA. In some way or another, at the very least, we could all agree it's related to him speaking at a campus event for Turning Point USA. I'm totally occupied by this. I tell you, I read these messages and I'm going, what is this? What is reality, actually? And Charlie died. Yes, like I said, it was related to this organization. And I think we would all agree that his death and the manner that they did it changed the world in ways that I don't think we can fully realize, or certainly not in a way that I can articulate. You just cannot pretend that all of this is one big unhappy coincidence. It's entirely plausible, I think plausible, that they knew something about Charlie. And that's why they had him marked and had him monitored and had him likely followed since he was young. And maybe they thought, like the agents think, that if they swarmed him and they stayed with him and they pretended to be his friend, that ultimately they could control Charlie and perhaps change an outcome. They could literally change an outcome related to Charlie. So when for the first time in his life, because I do believe he was managed, I mean, I've already said I was handled. I didn't recognize that I had agents. And for the first time in his life, Charlie peeks his head up and starts to push back in a meaningful.
I'm going to say this. A lot of political commentators out there, I will guarantee, like, that have millions of followers, I can guarantee you they have agent among them that they don't even know of. Because the power that is out there, the evil people that is out there who are trying to drive the world into a certain destination, they want to make sure they keep the population asleep for as long as possible. You guys don't have to understand that. Okay? And again, if they do not have an agent in your group, obviously they will try to bribe you with a lot of money. And once you sign that paper, once you accept that money, your voice no longer belongs to you. Rather, it belongs to them. They tell you, you have to say this and do that. Charlie Kirk started to deviate toward the end. People started to do a bunch of compilations of him literally deviating from the whole entire narrative of how Israel is the innocent people and not innocent, I'm sorry, that they're defending themselves and that they are the victim of this whole entire situation. People started to see that. People started to see that he was trying to completely reject the whole entire Israel idea. And of course, this led to him being unalived. Why? Because they invested way too much money into him. Like she just said, they started monitoring him at a very young age, all the way until how old he was? It 34 years old when he got unalived right in front of all of us? And he knew it was going to happen. He knew the game was over. He knew he was part of a gang. And in order for him to get out of this gang, well, it was most likely going to cost him his life. And so that's exactly what happened. And now after his passing, they try to build a whole entire narrative all around him. They try to say, oh, he's this and he's that. He was such a huge, staunch Israel fan. And then, of course, Candace Owen went ahead and dropped the text message that says, Actually, he wanted to just get away from all of that. And on top of that, him telling Tucker Carlson to go max. I saw that video of Tucker Carlson. I ain't gonna lie, Tucker Carlson was going pretty much, I wouldn't say 100%, but he was about 80% and just dropping it about, when it comes to the whole Israeli narrative. And on top of that, Dave Smith, bringing on Dave Smith. If you've seen Dave Smith's podcast, you will realize that this dude definitely does not agree with what's going on in Palestine. And so, yeah.
Way. They couldn't stop him from becoming bigger. That seemed to be inevitable. But they panicked. They seem to have panicked, right? I mean, this is just starting to happen within a year when Charlie's going like, hey, man, I don't actually think this. I don't actually believe this. And then he goes, you know what? Take the money. Take the money out of the organization. And they panicked. They freaked out. And their solution was, no, just kill him. Just kill him. We can't have this. This is not something that we are prepared to happen. That outcome of Charlie unleashed, so to speak. And ironically, that seems to be the very thing, his assassination, that catalyzed what they feared most, losing control of Charlie. That's exactly what happened, and they catalyzed that. So it seems to me that right now we're in the midst of this. They keep doing these things that only catalyze what they're trying to stop, what they're trying to prevent. For example, even unrelatedly, but the Brigitte and Emmanuel Macron, they filed a lawsuit. We have so much power. What are we going to do to stop this thing? She's getting into the story, is getting to the heart of evil and how the world is run, to figure out that Brigitte is born a man. What are we going to do? We're going to file a lawsuit. A lawsuit filing was a mistake, obviously. It was globally consequential, right? They wanted to stop it, and yet they spread it. Catastrophic to their aims. The more pressure they exert toward control, the more they spin out of it. Another example, lock them down at home. Make them wear a mask, right? Create COVID in a lab, make everybody sick, force them to get the jab. Evil is really fun that way until it accidentally awakens the entire world to how fraudulent Big Pharma is. Like, is this now everyone's is this just a factory of poison? Do these people hate? Are they so evil? Have we just been giving our bodies over to quote unquote science? Now, going back to the Looking Glass and them shutting down this project and not being able to edit whatever it was, we obviously cannot know for certain what it is that they saw when they peered through into this Looking Glass. But I do have a general sense that they're trying to edit its inevitability with ill-guided lawfare and warfare. And what I think is that our collective awareness is a threat. I think everybody peeking their heads up is making them increasingly more frantic. It's like they know we're barreling toward some foregone conclusion, and they have spent decades trying to stop that.
So I'm glad she said this. Okay, before I move on to the whole entire Iran, Israel, America topic, I'm really glad she said that. Is that the fact that here? Let me go ahead and take it back a little bit again, just so I can get her word right.
And they have spent decades trying to stop that, trying to prevent that. And
there you go. So it brings me to my story of the Pharaoh. Okay, one thing that you have to understand, especially when it comes to Islamic theology, right? The Pharaoh was a very crucial human being that existed in history. And the reason why I'm bringing this guy up is because he was extremely powerful. He was simultaneously a tyrant. Heck, he was perhaps the most tyrant human being that has ever existed in human history. Now, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, he felt like he was untouchable, that he could do whatever he wanted. So much so that he was literally unaliving babies once every single, any newborn baby, boys that was born, he was unaliving them. Why was he doing that is the question. Because he had a dream. What is that dream, you may be wondering? The dream was that his kingdom, his empire is going to collapse by a boy that's going to be born from among who? Beni Israel, from among the Jews. Okay? So him knowing that, he decided to say, oh, okay, since I have not been given a vision of the future, I can stop it now. By doing what? Every single boy that is born, kill all of them. And that's exactly what they did. They were killing boys. They were killing. And of course, as this was continuing, as this was happening, they started to get worried. They were saying, hey, us getting rid of these boys, obviously the population is going to go down and we're no longer going to have enough slaves to continue building our empire, to continue doing whatever we want. So he said, okay, cool. Once a year, kill the boy, the other year, leave them alive. And so he kept going back and forth. Obviously, this just happens to be that the year in which the boys are not going to get killed is when Moses was born. And so Moses' mothers got inspired. She got inspired by God to put the baby in a cradle and put him in the river. Obviously, a sane mother would not do something like that, put a newborn baby in a cradle and just like, so she got inspired by God and she did exactly that. And the cradle went exactly to the Pharaoh's home or his, castle or whatever, right? And Lord, behold, the Pharaoh's wife, she was barren. She didn't have any kid. And so she saw baby Moses. Obviously, she didn't know. The Pharaoh didn't know either that the dream that he had was about him. So she saw baby Moses and she said, hey, let's take care of this kid. You know what I mean? She convinced him. She told him, hey, the dream that you had, maybe you already killed the boy already because you've been killing boys. You've been killing hundreds and hundreds of boys that was being born among the Beni Israel, among the Jews, right? And of course, he accepted. He ended up taking the baby in. The baby ended up growing up and it ended up being the exact baby that made his kingdom collapse. So what does this tell us? Whether or not if we're able to tell the future with the looking glass that she's talking about, this theory of that, whether or not if that's true or not, one thing you need to understand is when God says something, it's not going to change the outcome of anything else. Whether God gave us the vision of the future or not, it's not going to change anything. The Pharaoh was given a glimpse of the future of what's going to happen. And despite him knowing that, not only did he take care of the kid that made his kingdom collapse. I mean, it's insane, And so that's kind of why the power that beat today are they're making a bunch of mistakes, which is one thing that has woken up the masses today. Everybody sees what's going on. Everybody is no longer buying into the mainstream media. They thought they were powerful. They thought they couldn't make any mistake. They thought that they were the law, the rule. They thought they were everything under the sun and they're untouchable. And so God is not showing them that, actually, you're wrong. That's not the case. And here's why. And so that's my theory as to exactly why they had to go ahead and get rid of that, future, what is it called? I keep forgetting exactly what it's called. Golly. But yeah, wait, I'm getting to the name. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I forgot. But yeah, the project. I forgot the name. Oh, there you go. So yeah, the project was called Looking Glass. So yeah, that's why they got rid of it. So before I move on to the whole Iranian situation, I wanted to show you guys something here. Okay. And it's very, very fascinating. I don't know if I can share this, but who knows, man. It is what it is. So this right here.
No permission to record.
This right here. This is why I say from the beginning that whether if you're religious or not, this world is being run by people who are involved in theology, one way or another. Whether you're a Muslim, Christian, Jew, Hindu, you name it, it's run by theology. Even saying this, that's some sort of theology. And with that being said, let's go ahead and watch this video right here. And just an advice, if you're somebody who is scared very, very easily, I mean, it's not a jump scare, but just watch it. But be warned in advance. Maybe you have already seen the video, but let's see.
Obviously, therefore, had no permission to have it published. Take a look at this, and I'm going to have to talk through it in case some people are listening on audio, but you really should try to tap in and watch this on video as well.
And just to give you guys a context, right? This is people. Supposedly, these are employees of the Hadron Collider. And if you don't know what the Hadron Collider is, it's pretty much, I'm sorry for, if you're okay, 3856. This is the Hadron Collider, right? And so, to give you a context, the employee of the Hadron Collider decided to, according to the news, do prank, right? A prank. And this was the prank here.
Under a Hindu deity. And the spokesperson confirmed it's real. And this person had no permission to record it. And there was obviously, therefore, had no permission to have it published. Take a look at this. And I'm going to have to talk through it in case some people are listening on audio, but you really should try to tap in and watch this on video as well. Okay. So it's a massive, massive statue. That's just to start. Are we bringing this in as a part of the prank? I don't know. There is a woman, there's a bunch of people that are in black robes, and some of them have hoods up. And then there's a woman that's wearing all white in the center of it. And they are now encircling this woman, and she's like laying flat on the floor as somebody is circling around her. I think he might be holding some fire. And then, it looks like she gets stabbed. I'd like to know where that woman is today. If this was a prank, you then hear heavy breathing and you hear a guy saying F, 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 F. Doesn't seem like it was a prank to him. He didn't think it was a prank. And we just moved on. We just absolutely moved on from that, which is incredible. It's incredible to consider that as a society, we have been so distracted that we were like, oh yeah, I guess that's fine. It was just a prank or whatever.
So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to go ahead and show you guys that little thing right there because this kind of proves my point. Okay. This kind of proves my point. This is what these people do behind doors. That's what they do. Okay. And there's a massive ritual that they do, obviously, because you guys have to understand that every single, not only, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second, but every single civilization believes in some sort of supernatural being. In Islam, they call them jinns. In Christianity, they call them demons. In every culture, they have some sort of supernatural being that we know exists, but we do not communicate with these things. Or magicians, they try to communicate with these things. And so human sacrifice, I don't know if I can say this on YouTube, human sacrifice is something in which these deities, they want. Why? Because this is something that is obviously unacceptable in the eyes of God. And so they want to prove that they are deities on this earth. People will do all these heinous crimes so that way they can get power from these creatures. You've heard the government saying that, oh, aliens exist. This is the modern term for demon. This is a modern term for jinns. That's one thing you need to understand. Okay? And so they believe that they can get power from these creatures. And if you know the story of, what's his name? Solomon, you will understand that people today believe that Solomon committed magic. Why? Because he was getting help from these creatures. From the Islamic perspective, we believe that Solomon was actually given power by God to, given power over these creatures by God. And so he was able to make these creatures, dive underwater, transfer a throne from one area of the world to another area, and he was able to fly. All of these was done because he had power over these creatures. Okay. And so today's day and age, even if you read, if I'm not wrong, it's the if it's not Christianity, it's perhaps Judaism. They actually believe that Solomon was actually a magician. But that was my conspiracy theory right there. Now I'm gonna go ahead and move on to, you guessed it, Iran. Reza Pahlavi. Now, this guy right here is somebody who is, I don't want to spoil it. I really, really don't. Why? Because I have a lot to say about it. I kind of collected some data, some informations here. Let's go ahead and listen to, what's his name? Yeah, John. He is an ex-CIA agent who went ahead and talked about this guy right here. And let's break it down. Let's listen to what you have to say, and I'll give my commentary on that.
So Reza Pahlavi is the son of the Shah of Iran, who was thrown out of Iran in early 1979, February of 1979, came into exile briefly in the United States. That led to the Iran hostage crisis. Then we forced him out to the Bahamas, and then to Panama, and then to Egypt, and he died in Egypt. Reza Pahlavi is the son. He was a young guy when this happened. He was, a teenager. Well, now he's in his 60s. And he's never been to Iran since the 1970s. He's also something of a playboy in the Washington area. He's not a player in Iranian exile circle.
And so you have to understand that him being in the United States for the past 30 plus years, this guy has been, I guess you can say he was perhaps someone in position of like what happened to Charlie Kirk. And what I mean, in case you're new here, I just got on talking about the whole, situation. If you want to know what I mean, then please, it's going to be hard. But in conclusion, Charlie Kirk was groomed from a very young age to where he was now. And obviously they lost control of him and they had to let him go. So what I'm trying to say is with Reza Pahlavi here, him being in the United States for the past 30 years, they knew he was the son of the Shah. America knew that eventually they would have to clash with Iran to post somebody there. And so I genuinely believe that in order for them to control Reza Pahlavi, I don't think he's going to take power in Iran, but if he does, they want to make sure they control him. So like he just said, Reza Pahlavi is a playboy. And so they have a lot of dirt on this guy. On top of that, he even been to Israel where he kissed the wall. And we understand that anybody who kisses the wall, well, you just happen to be, talked good about in the mainstream media. And so now that you have that in your mind, just keep listening.
But he seems to have a whole lot of money. Well, over the last couple of weeks, several things have happened. Number one, the Israeli government spilled the beans and they admitted that they have been financing him. So is he a Mossad asset? You bet he's a Mossad asset.
Now everything makes sense. So they have this guy lined up. Obviously, Israel wants to go ahead and take out the Khamenei because, let's be honest, with Khamenei in power, it's not going to allow Israel to get near its border. And the reason I say that is because if you see my last video of the map of Greater Israel, you will realize that the Greater Israel is literally right at the border of Iran. It's kind of like NATO. The reason why the whole Ukrainian war is happening right now is because NATO got too close to Russia. And so now the Russians are feeling threatened. And now they're trying to pull Ukraine part of NATO. And so Vladimir Putin is now saying that's not going to happen. So now you see, that's why, Russia is looked at as a bad guy because of that whole situation. So now if you apply the same rule to what's going on in Iran, things starts to make a lot of sense, right? Rather than it being NATO, it's Greater Israel. Greater Israel is trying to expand all the way to the border of Iran. And this is obviously going to require a lot of bloodshed to happen. And they understand that with Iran being there with the amount of ballistic missile that they have no chance of expanding. And so now they're trying to get rid of Khamenei, have a whole regime change, take one of their Mossad agents, implant it, so that way he can, drive Iran in a direction that's going to benefit the state of Israel.
Mossad is saying it. Number two, he doesn't know anything about contemporary Iran. Patrick Bet-David, the big podcaster, invited Reza Pahlavi to go on his podcast a week ago. And Reza never called him back. Never even attempted to, get his name out there, get his picture out there, talk about his view of a future Iran. He's not interested. Donald Trump has been pressured
because he doesn't know exactly what the Israelis have in mind. So he's not going to tell you what he's planning on doing. I mean, when you think about it, right? He is pretty much saying, hey, I want Israel to put me here and you as Israeli tell me what should happen. So him going onto the PBD podcast and then start telling people, oh, when I go to Iran, I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And this is going to go ahead and make the economy boom and so on and so forth. And let's say for the sake of argument that he does go into power and he doesn't do exactly that. How long do you think people will start digging up that interview of PBD and say, hey, you said you were going to do these and you haven't done any of them. What's going on? And now the heat will start to ramp up. But him not mentioning anything about the future puts himself in a position in which he is leaving the door open for the Israelis to tell them exactly what they want in that region, just like what's going on right now in Lebanon.
People on the neoconservative right to welcome Reza Pahlavi into the Oval Office. He would be the person that accept these really rich Iranian exiles, most of whom are in Beverly Hills, The only people who really, really want him to be the leader of Iran are the Israelis. I'll add one other thing. As I said, the guy is a non-entity.
I mean, think about it this way. Imagine if JFK had a son that lived in Russia for the past, for decades. And then in Russia, he is asking Vladimir Putin to overthrow Donald Trump so that way he can fly from Russia to come here and start running things. Meanwhile, he hasn't been here for the past 30 years. I mean, when you apply the same rule to yourself, nothing makes sense. But yet they want the same exact rule for others. And it's like, yep, this is exactly propaganda. Again, if it doesn't apply to you, if you would not want it for yourself, but yet you are imposing that on other people, just understand that it's propaganda. That's all you need to do if you want to see if this is propaganda or not.
In Washington, he's a non-entity even in Iranian exile politics. But the Washington Post, which is owned by Jeff Bezos and is the mouthpiece of the 1% of the 1%,
Oof.
ran an op-ed last week that Reza Pahlavi wrote. And he said that he wanted to go back to Iran to usher in a period of democracy.
My ass.
Like, what do you know about democracy? Your father was a fascist dictator who slaughtered his own people and who stole billions upon billions of dollars from the nation's treasury. So you think it should be you who goes back to Iran after 50 years and brings in a period of democracy? Come on, I'm insulted by that.
And to be honest with you, I think Iranians are also insulted by that. I mean, why can't the Iranians just fight their own battle? Seriously, let that sink in. Why not? Why do we have to get involved here in the United States of America? I mean, Iran is literally on the other side of the planet. So this whole entire idea that, they like to yell death to America. And so, first of all, you have to understand that these are just words. That's number one. And even if they are serious, are they really they don't have a rocket that'll make its way all the way to the United States of America. They just don't. They don't have this. They don't have the power to take down America. That's a fact. But America does have the power to take them down, which is why Israel is not attacking them. Israel needs the help of America to take down Iran. And that's when this dude comes in.
So, yeah, this guy's not going to be... I made a comment today kind of offhandedly, and the more I think about it, the more I believe it to be true. He wouldn't survive the walk from the plane to the terminal if he were to fly back to Iran. So he's not going to be the next leader of Iran. And yes, this is the CIA Mossad playbook for regime change. Yes, resist it.
Rightfully so. I'm going to be honest with you. Okay? When Gaddafi decided to give away his weapon, what happened to him in Libya? Yeah. It was a bloodbath. You know what I mean? He got overthrown a few years later. And now Libya is literally an open slave market. The country has just, it's a freaking disaster. So let's get to his message here. Reza Pahlavi went ahead and put out a 4-minute video of his vision of Iran.
To all of our friends around the world, under the yoke of the Islamic Republic, Iran is identified in your minds with terrorism, extremism, and poverty. The real Iran is a different Iran, a beautiful, peace-loving, and flourishing Iran. It is the Iran that existed before the Islamic Republic, and it is the Iran that will rise again from its ashes the day the Islamic Republic falls.
Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, America has sanctioned the shit out of Iran. So whatever is going on, the way their economy is, it's not because they have bad leaders in position that have no idea how to, fix their economy. Rather, it's America that is not allowing Iran to sell its oil. In fact, Donald Trump even said that he will give any country that does any business with Iran 25% tariff. So not only are we meddling in their economy, Not only are we stopping them from selling oil, we are now trying to overthrow the leader and then put this dude in front, this dude in power, who is literally going to be a mouthpiece for the Israeli government. Like we just seen in the past, in the video. This dude is a Mossad agent. I believe it. Do I have any document that says, oh, he's, no. He kissed the wall. Let's keep watching, and you'll see why I say he's a Mossad agent.
False. So let me be clear about how a free Iran will act towards its neighbors and the world after the fall of this regime. In security and foreign policy, Iran's nuclear military program will end.
Really? I mean, based off of everything that I've seen, it seems like America only leaves a country alone when they build a nuclear bomb. North Korea, they had a nickname for God, how the heck did I forget this guy's name? I really gotta start remembering names, bro. Kim Jong-un. They had a nickname. They call him the Rocket Man, the little Rocket Man. And the reason that is pretty hilarious. It's that when he built his nuke and they were testing it, he was standing in the distance with smoke in his hand and just watching the rocket go up. And so he got the nickname Little Rocket Man, right? And although Kim Jong-un is still oppressing his people, do you hear about him in the news? Do you hear America saying, oh, we need to go ahead and free North Korean people? Do you hear anywhere in the news where they're saying we need to overthrow Kim Jong-un so that way that people can be free? You don't. Why? Because he has a nuke. The world now realizes if you want to be protected from America, if you want to be protected from American boot on your neck, you have to have a nuke. Any country that has a nuke, you don't really hear about them in the news, except for the big two, which is China and Russia. Those are gonna be eternal enemy, always, no matter what. So they obviously they have to make sure they give you that little boogeyman right there. But in conclusion, look at Pakistan. Pakistan is a majority Muslim country, and what do you notice? They're not mentioned in the news at all because Pakistan is a nuclear country. Yeah. And now this guy here is now saying that, oh, when I get in power, we're not going to build a nuke. It's like, why? Why? You haven't learned anything for the past? Well, how old is he now? I don't even know how old he is. But based off of his age, he's probably like close, in his 70s or something. But you haven't learned anything? I'm only 28 years old. And even I know that in order not to be attacked by Israel or America is you have to have a nuclear bomb. So he's pretty much leaving the door open for, any country that want to take it down. Let's be honest. Without nuke, you pretty much are kind of defenseless.
Support for terrorist groups will cease immediately. A free Iran will work with regional and global partners to confront terrorism, organized crime, drug trafficking, and extremist Islamism.
And if he was smart, he would say America should release all the sanction right now and see where the economy goes. Why? Because then you will start to see the true face of the leaders. Are they good leaders? Is Khamenei a really good leader or not? If you want to find that out, tell America, hey, release all the sanction, take off all the sanction, and let's see what happened. And if Khamenei is a bad leader, organically, the riot is going to happen. The burning down of the car, if the people are not happy, it'll happen. But instead, you have Mossad CIA there right now burning everything down, and then we are getting a little tiny glimpse of what's going on in Iran, and they're making it seem like this is the only thing that's going on in Iran. It's that the whole entire Iranian have stood up against their government, and they need our support. So that way they can put this dude there.
Iran will act as a friend and a stabilizing force in the region. And it will be a responsible partner in global security. In diplomacy, relations with the United States will be normalized, and our friendship with America and her people will be restored. The state of Israel will be recognized immediately.
There it is. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. There it is. Oh, wow. There's the dead giveaway. Oh, man. This just screams Mossad. If this doesn't scream Mossad, I don't know what does. Let's be honest with yourself. Let's be honest with ourselves, okay? This dude is just straight up. What? My question now is this. What did they have on you, brother? What do they have on you? What have you done? Are you on the Epstein list? If not the Epstein list, who else out there? But when I say Epstein list, I'm pretty much talking about anybody and everybody out there who is trying to, create, blackmail these politicians. So are you on the list? After 2 years of genocide that's going on in Palestine, you still want to recognize that state? After 75 years of oppressing the Palestinian, you still want to recognize that state? I mean, have you not learned anything? Or are you just a mouthpiece for a bigger power out there that wants you to say all of these things? Did you even write whatever it is that you're saying? Heck, do you even have a gun pointing at your head right now, making you look at the camera and read that script? Everything about this guy is fake. You guys need to understand that. And the reason I say this is because Mossad themselves said that they are the orchestrator of things that's going on. I've made videos in the past. They said the world is their stage and they are orchestrating everything. That's why I'm saying what I'm saying right now. This dude, these are not his ideas. It's not.
We will pursue the expansion of the Abraham Accords into the Cyrus Accords, bringing together a free Iran, Israel, and the Arab world. A new chapter will begin, grounded in mutual recognition, sovereignty, and national interest. In energy, Iran holds some of the largest oil and gas reserves in the world. A free Iran will become a reliable energy supplier to the free world.
Free from whom? Obviously, he's going to say the leader, Khamenei. But the sanction is what's putting Iran's economy where it is now.
Policymaking will be transparent. Iran's actions will be responsible. Prices will be predictable. In transparency and governance, Iran will adopt and enforce international standards. Money laundering will be confronted. Organized corruption will be dismantled. Public institutions will answer to the people.
These are all wishes. These are all wishes.
In the economy, Iran is one of the world's last great untapped markets. Our population is educated, modern, with a diaspora that connects it to the four corners of the world. A democratic Iran will open its economy to trade, investment, and innovation, and Iran will seek to invest in the world. Opportunity will replace isolation. This is not an abstract vision. It is a practical one, grounded in national interest, stability, and cooperation. To achieve this, now is the time to stand with the Iranian people. The fall of the Islamic Republic and the establishment of a secular, democratic government in Iran will not only restore dignity to my people, it will benefit the region and the world. A free Iran will be a force for peace, for prosperity, and for partnership.
Yeah, all that is just wishful thinking. I'm gonna be honest with you. All of that is just wishful thinking. This is the idea. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a brilliant idea. But guess what? let's be honest, Israel doesn't really want to see anybody be successful in that region except for Israel itself. Israel is looking out for itself. You need to understand that. Because if it wasn't, things would be a lot better in the Middle East. But instead, one thing that we realize is that every single country in that area, well, Israel wants to dominate. And if it doesn't dominate, well, it just tells its its leaders to say, hey, sorry, it just tells America, hey, we want you to go ahead and do some regime change in this area, which is why we see a lot of that happening. When I'm explaining this story, I love opening the map because, it makes things a little bit easier. So yeah, we understand what happened in Libya. Okay, Libya got overthrown. Now it's an open slave market. Egypt, the reason Egypt is not attacking Israel because they're on the payroll of America. Yemen is the only country I would say in this region that is pretty much trying to do something about what's going on in Palestine. And so they are worried. They know that. Why? Because Yemenis have been sinking ships that are making their way to Palestine. And in order to counter that, they have now recognized Somaliland. Obviously, that didn't make a lot of Somalians happy. People didn't really talk about that, but you need to understand that there were people on the street saying, yeah, sorry, buddy. No, you recognizing Somaliland is not going to be acceptable. So they recognized the Somali to go ahead and build a base here to now take care of the Yemenis. Saudi Arabia, let's be honest, Saudi Arabia ain't going to do shit. Same thing with UAE. UAE is on the same roll. Syria, Lebanon, these places have been completely subdued to the Israeli regime. Iraq, 20 years happened in Iraq. That country is completely destabilized. Now it is being run by a bunch of Al-Qaeda. Same thing in Afghanistan. Afghanistan, 20 years. That whole entire country has also been completely neutralized, I would say. The only country that is still remaining, that is still a threat to the greater Israel, which is this whole entire region right over here, the only country that is standing in the way is this guy. That's why for over 20, 30 years, Benjamin Netanyahu has been saying that Iran is on a precipice, if I'm using that word right, or along that line. That's why he said that they are very, very close. They are 2 to 3 months away from building a nuclear bomb. He's been regurgitating the same bullshit ass lie for over 30 years. And now the time has been closer than ever. That's why they did the preemptive attack back in June of 2025. That war hasn't stopped, by the way. In case you don't know, it's kind of like a cease, not really a ceasefire, but it's just, we're gonna pause, because now we got a vibe of what you got. That's why when it was happening, Israel literally had to come and beg America to go ahead and make Iran stop. Israel had to literally, this is not my word. Tucker Carlson said this. During the 12-day war, Israelis breached into the Pentagon and commanded the Pentagon to take action against Iran. These are not my word. Go ask Tucker Carlson how he got the information. I just got it from him. So Israel was in, how should I say it, in a pickle, all right? And it needed help. That's why the B-2 bombers went and, they dropped bombs on the nuclear site. And, Iran, when they're not going to build nuclear bombs anymore, even though Khamenei has said over and over again that they're not building it. Obviously, it's not enough. They need to completely destabilize this whole entire country. So that dude, I went ahead and exit out. So him getting ready to go into trying to take over Iran, yeah, it's going to be a freaking disaster. So this brings me to our next topic, all right? This is by Max Blumenthal here. He went ahead and said, let's see some Max burning video. I'm always down for Max burning videos. So that's what these two, I think she's a Zoroastrian. I don't know exactly who this guy is. I don't know. Anyway, so Canadian Iranian monarchist activist Goldie Ramari, I'm hoping I'm saying that, and Armin Navabi pump their fists and enjoy footage of anti-gov rider burning mosque in Iran. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, these two are in support of what's going on in Iran. I'm going to tell you something. I'm a Muslim. And as a Muslim, if I'm in an area in which somebody is trying to burn a church, guess what? I would give my life to protect that church. Because as Muslim, we are not commanded to burn down buildings. And so now you have these people, right, who are against the Iranian government, and now they are in support of people burning down mosques. What did the mosque do to you? These are places of worship. Places of worship should be off limit. But obviously, if you saw what happened in Gaza, you will realize that it's the same people that are doing the same thing in Iran. Obviously on a smaller scale, but if you see Gaza, Gaza has been completely flattened. Muslim country, a lot of mosques that were there, completely flattened. They even bombed some churches as well. And now you have these two mouthpieces here who are obviously in support of what's going on in Iran, saying that we are in support of the mosques being burned down. So you tell me, are they really in support of Iran, or do they just want to see bloodshed? Because any sane human being out there should be saying, hey, we should stop this war. We should stop shedding blood. We care about the Iranian people. Although we disagree with the government, although we disagree with the policy, this does not mean that you should go and burn down a mosque, unalive a bunch of police officers, because that's what's been happening. They have military-grade weapon on the street, gunning down people. Snipers, gunning down people. And you're telling me that this is organic? No, it's not. They've admitted themselves that Mossad is among the people committing all these heinous crimes. Anyway, let's listen to these two here celebrating it.
All right, let's see some mosque burning videos.
Yes.
I'm always down for mosque burning videos.
Look at that. I'm always down for imagine if a Muslim is saying I'm always down for some church burning video. It's like, what? Whoa, wow, like what? But then again, let's be quite honest. She's a Zoroastrian. She says it herself. You'll see.
Oh, wow, we got a big super chat. Hold on, look at this. Saying, Armin John plus Goldie, thank you. I'm an Iranian Jew with many relatives in Israel. They tell me they're watching you guys. Today, they held a rally to push for action to help Iranians. Yes, we saw that we were live streaming it. We're so grateful. Also, I'm writing an article to Israel Hayom.
So, ladies and gentlemen, keep in mind, a few months from now, let's say the war does kick off, even though Trump, I'll get to that, right? But let's say later down the line, a month or maybe a week or maybe tomorrow, if Donald Trump decides to change his mind, okay, and they do decide to attack Iran, if rockets start raining down in Israel, I do not want to hear any of these Zionist fuckers ever saying that, oh, we are defending ourselves. Because, you see, we know for a fact that Mossad is in Iran right now causing havoc on these people. We know that. Few months from now, they are hoping that you forget about the fact that Mossad is gunning down people and they're going to be saying the same rhetoric again. Oh, we're defending ourselves. Look how tiny we are. Oh, we are the victim. Meanwhile, they're the literal people who are causing war all over the place. This reminds me of a verse in the Quran where Allah says that when he tells them, stop causing chaos, stop causing corruption in the world, they turn around and say, oh, no. We are peacemakers. We're not causing violence. We're just peacemakers. It's the same narrative. It's the same thing.
I'll send it. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And guys, we see all the Israelis that are supporting us, and we will never forget. Promise you, we will never forget. We will forever be grateful to you guys.
Oh, don't worry, you won't.
Thank you.
After the regime falls.
All right, so watch this, guys.
Wait, can I just say something? Someone said Goldie has turned into a pyromaniac. I mean, I'm Zoroastrian. What'd you expect? I'm literally Zoroastrian. So there you go.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. So she's not a Christian nor a Jew, but she's a Zoroastrian. She's not a Muslim either. Obviously, I can tell you these two right here, based off of their opinion about the mosque. Yeah, they're definitely not Muslim.
Like, I don't understand why that's like breaking news.
Well, I mean, that's a good segue to this video. Pyromaniac. Yeah, there we go.
FYI, she got cooked in the whole Piers Morgan video that recently dropped.
You know what? This is the Zoroastrian comeback of Iran.
Yes, we're cleansing things with fire, as Zoroastrians do.
Well, fire is the best cleanser, right?
Yeah, fire is a cleanser. Yeah. So watch this.
Oh man, I'm sorry to pause it here, but you know what's crazy? In the Quran, when the devil was commanded to bow down to Adam out of respect, you know what he said? That Adam is created out of mud and I'm created out of fire, and that fire is better than the mud. And because of that, he was cast away. So now, like, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here, if you saw what I said at the beginning, I told you guys I am very much into theology. And so a lot of the stuff and a lot of the event that happens throughout the world has a lot to do with theology. And so when I read the Quran and when I learn even the Bible, right, and I see correlations, I'm just like, holy shit. It's like right there, like a whole script is just playing out right before our own eyes. I mean, like, sorry, the video's still gonna be playing, but I'm just gonna come. Look at the glee, bro. Look at this. Just look at this. Look at that, bro. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter how much you are against a country. It's like you should not be allowed to burn down a place of worship. Like at all. You should not be allowed to burn down a place of worship. You shouldn't be allowed to drop bombs indiscriminately. You shouldn't be allowed to kill innocent people. I don't care. I'm not a big fan of Iran, but I don't want to see innocent people dying. Genuinely, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see mosques. I don't want to see synagogues because yes, there are a lot of Jews in Iran, despite the narrative saying, oh, Muslim or Iran is against it. Despite that, there's a lot of Jews in Iran. I don't want to see synagogue being burned. I don't want to see churches being burned. It doesn't matter how much I disagree with the policy. It doesn't matter how much I disagree with the leader of that country. It doesn't give you the right to, terrorize innocent people who have nothing to do with the regime. And so you have these two buffoons over here celebrating the fact that mosques, places of worship are being burnt down. And these are the people that are saying, oh, we need to go and free and liberate the Iranians. Really? By burning down mosque? If you leave the mosque, what is that going to do in the future? I'm getting a little bit fired up here. Now, Donald Trump has said that he's not going to go ahead and attack Iran. Different people have given different opinion as to the reason why he's not going to attack Iran. And to be quite honest with you, although I will say this right here has a lot to do with it, but I wouldn't say it is 100% the reason why. Now, based off of what we're seeing on X when it comes to the video of Iran and the narrative that's being bombarded out there by a bunch of social media influencers, okay? Based off of that, we understand that the people of Iran haven't really went against their government. There's a lot of people that are also doing protests that are for the government, but they don't show you that. Rather, what do they show you? Are the people who are against the government because it fits the narrative, okay? So I guess you can say the Iranian did not get fired up enough to overthrow the government. So that's one reason why Donald Trump said, I'm not going to attack it. There are probably other reasons. Again, different theories out there. And this brings me to this right here. Saudi Arabia says it will not allow the US to use its airspace to attack Iran. Based off of what happened in the past, okay? You guys remember when Iran was raining rocket down Tel Aviv? If I'm not wrong, and if I'm wrong, I really apologize for that. But I do know this, that there were some Muslim countries who actually stopped some rocket that were coming from Iran to Israel. And if I'm not wrong, this dude was among them who was stopping some of the rockets from doing that. So in conclusion, what I'm trying to say is they are not against the regime change in Iran, but rather him taking a stance against rockets flying over their, airspace. It's gonna, I guess you can say, put them in a better light when it comes to the Muslim, when it comes to the Ummah, when it comes to the Muslim community. The Muslim community is probably gonna be sharing all over the social media right now. Oh, look at our leader. Oh, he's taking a stance against the United States of America. Oh, he's not gonna allow the Americans to go ahead and rain down rocket in Iran and so on and so forth. When in reality, he was probably told by somebody else to say, no, you're not going to rain down rocket. So that way he can look good in the, in front of the mainstream media. So that's my prediction with this whole situation. But yes, I do believe that this also has something to do with the fact that Donald Trump decided to change his mind when it comes to it. And then, of course, we have Danny Danon. I hope I'm saying that last name right. This is beyond belief. The Iranian UN ambassador has sent a letter to UN complaining about protesters in Iran, whom he described as terrorists. An armed group turned peaceful protests into political destabilization. This is the same regime that shoot protesters, hang opponents, and opposes an entire people. You know, it's extremely rich of him to say something like this. I'm sorry. It's extremely rich of him to say something like this because, in case, oh no, God, I have something else to talk about. Gosh, wait. Okay, it's still here. Cool. Whoa. Oh, wait. I think this is a video that was this one of the videos that I wanted to talk about? No, this is not it. Okay, I don't care about this right here. So yeah, it's extremely rich. In case, while I play this, let's look at this. Okay? This is the same regime that shoot protesters, okay? Hangs opponents and oppress an entire people. Oh my God. This deserves a bomb. Okay? This, oh my goodness gracious. The same guy who is saying this is in the Knesset and is responsible for this. In case you don't know what this is, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Gaza Strip. This is Palestine. So the same guy who said this, God, the same guy who says this has another opinion. Let me, there you go. Has another opinion about this. This is like, it's like, are you freaking kidding me? Hold on, let me see if I can show my comment here, because I commented on this and it's very, very rich, right? So look at this. I just hope, so yeah, these people have completely flattened Gaza. Now, as you can see, this is before and then this is after. And this dude thought that this was a flex. Moral of the story, you don't F with the Jews, you lose. I commented on this. I hope I can find my comment here somewhere. If not, I'll just go to my page and then I'll just find it over there. Profile. So replies. There it is. So this was my comment right here. This isn't a flex. Not only do you destroy human lives, you destroy the environment. God's chosen people, my ass. More like the devil's pet. So, seriously, how can you claim to be the most moral army in the world? How can you claim to be God's chosen people? And this is what you do to not only human beings, but to the environment. You destroy everything. This right here goes completely against Islam. For one, this is indiscriminate bombing. I mean, what did the trees do to you? But then again, the Bible, the Old Testament does say kill every sheep, goat, infant, and then keep the little ones for yourself. You know, the Amalekite. Yeah, I'm sorry for stuttering my word, but if you read that verse in the Bible about what happened to the Amalekite, you will understand that they are literally doing exactly what the Bible says about what to do with the Amalekite. It tells you to literally pulverize everything, except for the little one. Keep the little one for yourself. And so one thing that we do understand is obviously the Jewish state is the capital of homosexuality. Not only that, they also, penetrate their prison, their hostage. If you've seen some of the hostages that have been released and you hear their story, they would let dogs sodomize the Palestinians. And we've also seen videos in the past of the idea of doing unspeakable things to Palestinian. We've seen it. So these people are literally morally bankrupt. And there was a video that I saw of a guy saying that rather than, their idea of morality being equal to that of us, they have opposite morality. So what we think is good, they think is bad, I guess. Something along that line. So this right here is their idea of what is moral. And we see this and say this is evil. That's why you hear in the news, especially Benjamin Netanyahu, going on about, oh, the most moral army in the world. Oh, boo-hoo. And I'm like, dude, these people, like, they're so evil. It's insane. It's truly insane. And so Iran is, it says Iran is noticing. So yeah, wait. Busted again. Mossad proxies were monitoring by Iranian intelligence forces while they were carrying out sabotage and destroying infrastructure. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, like we know for a fact that Mossad is among the Iranian and they're trying to cause as much chaos as possible. Now here's my question. Are there any Iranian secret agent in Israel? And if yes, what are they waiting for? What are they waiting for? Let me see if I have it bookmarked. So this right here, ladies and gentlemen, I think this kind of tells me that perhaps they are Iranian agents in Israel. There might be some here in the United States. I don't know. But listen to what Khamenei had to say. Now, this may be a very, very old video, so keep that in mind. I don't know exactly when this video was released. Perhaps it was released recently. I'm not sure. But again, this is kind of what the Iranian think of Zionism. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's what happened. That's what he said. Okay. And again, I don't know exactly how old this video is because it's not very, very, very specific. And then it's just a bunch of edits of him doing, God knows what. And so, yeah, in conclusion, big word, very, very big word. Should the Zionists be worried? I would say yes, because you're not that big compared to this. I mean, this is, this is like, an ant trying to take on an elephant. Because let's be honest, the only reason this state is still existing is because of, their daddy. That's the only reason is this still existing. Everybody in this region, everybody here, well, before October 7th, everybody here hates them. And now that October 7th has happened, everybody here hate them. Yeah, the whole world do not like these people. Heck, even if you go into Asia, there are signs saying no Israeli tourists allowed. That's how much the world hate you. And you have nobody to blame but yourself. Nobody. Because not only did you try to unalive the Tsar, but you went into Germany, you completely destroyed the economy, and this created the mustache man. You were given a second chance, you went into Palestine, and now you've turned it into Israel. You were given a third chance, you came into the United States of America, and now you've taken over the leaders with blackmail, just so they can do your evil bidding for you in the Middle East. It's like everywhere you go, you are like a cancer that just come to you like a friend. Meanwhile, you're slowly and gradually trying to destroy him from within. And now the whole world has waken up to your evil. And keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not talking about the whole entire Jewish community. I'm specifically talking about the Zionist government. Because they're the real orchestrator of what's happening. The Jewish people are just a victim of their crime. And the reason I say that is because Joe Biden said it himself that you don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist, which tells me that there are people who are not of the Jewish community that are Zionists and are funding the Zionist movement here in Israel. And guess what? They are brainwashing the Jews to believe that whatever is going on throughout the world is going to benefit them. When in reality, they're making the whole entire world hate the Jewish community. Because you got to understand, these people are like lizards. They just shift from one side to another. If Israel falls, guess what? They're starting to cause a lot of havoc down here. In case you haven't been aware, Argentina's burning. There's rumors going around that the reason that is because they're trying to take land over there. They took out Maduro so that way they can gain the oil. Obviously, to keep fueling America, to keep the war alive over here. But that's a whole different topic. But Argentina's burning. We understand that well. You know, if you're aware of the Argentinian leader, this dude took billions of dollars from the United States of America. Why is the question. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this video has went on for a little bit too long. If you made it this far, why haven't you liked that button and then hit the subscribe yet? Like, dude, you're here. Clearly what I was saying resonated with you. Clearly what I was saying, you liked it. So go ahead and hit that like button.